Hey Dunchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes. I live in Idaho now, and it's time for a new edition of Top 5, the series where I discuss compilation albums. As you guys have probably figured out by now, I've been an absolute mess this year, at least when it comes to my YouTube channel. As much as I like doing music reviews on YouTube, it's been really hard to keep up this year. Throughout the spring, I was pretty occupied trying to finish up college and graduating. This summer, I've had to move not once, but twice. Also, something that you guys might not know yet is that at the beginning of the summer, I started doing artist management as a job, and I've been pretty occupied working with my clients Ace Aura, Reflect, Villager, and Laws, as well as 3 clients that I co-manage, Jarvis, Rob Gasser, and Michael White. It's probably going to get even more difficult for me as I'm looking for a full-time job to kind of pay the bills while I'm doing management, but at least I won't have to deal with school in the way this year, so I guess there's its ups and its downs with that, but I hope you guys can stay patient with me. In today's edition of Top 5, I'm going to be talking about the 2 most recent compilations that Monstercat has put out, Monstercat Instinct Volume 3 and their 8th anniversary compilation. I was originally going to do these in 2 separate videos, but the more I think about it, the more ridiculous it sounds for me to do that. I am so far behind, it's not even funny. I have about 100 different albums and EPs in my rapid fire review list, and I really need to get those underway, so I figured why not combine them into one video? It just makes sense. So I'm going to tackle these compilations kind of in 2 different ways. For Instinct Volume 3, I'm going to do it in kind of my standard format where I talk about the 5 favorite songs on the compilation in order that they appear, and for the 8th anniversary compilation, I'm going to be doing a countdown more similar to the Rocket League videos. And basically the reason that I'm doing it countdown style in the 8th anniversary compilation is because there's only 8 songs. It's not going to be exciting if I don't really count it down, because you guys are basically going to know what to expect. Now, regarding Instinct Volume 3, I genuinely think it's the best collective work we've gotten from the Instinct brand since Volume 1. I'm pretty floored that I generally enjoy almost every song on this compilation. Regarding the theme of this compilation, I don't really think there's a ton that I can talk about, other than I think there are more drum and bass songs on this compilation than any other album that Monstercat's previously put out. Now, correct me if I'm wrong about that, but it just seems like there's a lot of drum and bass here. Instinct seems to kind of have become the home for Monstercat drum and bass releases, and obviously that's not the case in every instance, but it's just kind of surprising to me because when Instinct started out, it was a lot of more, you know, vibrant pop-leaning music, and it's become like more EDM-centric because I guess the label's putting out less of that like pop-style stuff. So we're getting a lot more variety on these Instinct compilations than we were to begin with, but that's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. It's just something that's kind of come to pass on this compilation, I suppose. As usual with Monstercat compilations, there's a whole slew of new artists that are appearing on this thing. Some really great ones as well as some longtime artists we've come to know and love. Blah, let's just get into my top 5. First off, and this really won't be a surprise to anybody who knows me well, I've got Grant featuring Juno, aka Jesse Mason, Colors. Something that I didn't mention before is that when I was going to pick out my 5 favorites from the album, I kind of picked out 7, and 2 of those were repeat artists. Grant was one of those artists because I think that Wishes is a fantastic song as well, but I really don't like to duplicate appearances on this series. I'm not a fan of it. Colors, though, for me, I'd say strongly came out on top. Of course, it's Grant and Jesse Mason coming together, and I pretty much like everything that they do together. They've got a ton of chemistry. I always really enjoy Jesse Mason's songwriting, and I think her voice always fits nice over these kind of fun little instrumentals, and that's pretty much what Colors is. It is a really fun song. Probably the most danceable beat we've ever seen in a Grant song. A little bit more up-tempo, a little bit more groovy, with all these different textures and instruments kind of coming together in a really cool way that we've never really seen on a Grant song before. Like I I said, not that Wishes is bad by any stretch, it's just this one was more of a unique experience for me, even if that song is really beautiful. I also think that this is Grant's most collaborative song yet, and it pays off really well. Even though not everybody is credited, there's a saxophonist, there's an electric guitarist in there, there might even be a bassist, and I think these are all people that Grant went to school with at USC, fellow music students. Fittingly, the song was released right before he graduated and right before I graduated with a music degree as well. So of course this song did hit home in a way for me. I'm also just generally a sucker for like a nice groovy dance tune, and this song is definitely that. Now the mix down isn't necessarily perfect. I kind of wish it was organized in a way that would have helped some of those, backing instruments be able to come out a little bit more rather than the bass, which kind of just seems to pummel you throughout the track. But it's fine. Like, it's not something that absolutely ruins the track for me. Second on my Instinct Volume 3 top 5 is Internet Boy by Dion Timmer featuring Micah Martin. For a very, very long time, Till I Make It has been my favorite Dion Timmer release on Monstercat, and then Internet Boy came in and is quickly changing that. I'm not sure if I'd say it completely tops it for me yet, but right now I'd say they're on pretty level ground. As far as I know, Dion really hasn't done a song like this before. It's a really up-tempo electro house type tune that evolves as the track goes on. Some very interesting and almost complex chord structures and melodies coming out in the track, which you really don't see a ton in Dion's music. I really like the high-pitched female vocals on the song, maybe even more than Micah Martin, although I really like it when the two kind of come together in this call-in response section before the second drop. I think it works together really nicely, which all culminates in this massive euphoric second drop, which I just can't get enough of. I love it more and more every single time I listen to it. This track is once again a reminder to me of why I love Dion Timmer so much. Every time he experiments and goes for something different, he kills it. Maybe with the exception of Leave. For my third pick, I'm going to go with Hide and Seek by Slumberjack featuring Claire Ridgely. Now, I talked about this track a bit in my review of Sarawak, which is still, I'd say, my favorite EP of the year. Even if the song sounds a little weird in the context of the compilation because it flows so nicely, I guess, where it is on the EP, I still love this song, and it's a great representation of everything that was on that EP, I suppose. Being a poppy future bass song, but being completely flipped on its head with these experimental jungle sounds. Claire Ridgely is also probably my favorite name in EDM when it comes to vocal appearances. She's just such a clever songwriter, and the way that all of her features kind of weave together is amazing. I can't get enough of her. Slumberjack also killed it in the production department. I would definitely suggest you listen to the full EP more than anything else. It's an amazing project. Moving on, my number 4 is a song that I feel like didn't get near enough love. About Us by DeCero, FTKS, and Winter. This is by far one of the best dancehall, tropical-leaning EDM tunes I have ever heard, and I don't mean that lightly. Song is insanely good. I would even go as far as to call it a masterpiece. Killer top line, great melody, every single instrument and synth is perfectly layered. But overall, I think the thing that attracts me to this song the most are DeCero's bass lines, which are always absolutely insane. I've talked about that a little with his song with Conroe, Love Divine, off the Connecting the Dots EP, but it comes out really nicely on this song. The way that the bass and the percussion communicates with each other in order to create this great effect just works so nicely for me. One of the best and the most uplifting EDM-influenced pop songs I've heard in a long time. A lot of you know how much I despised the dancehall wave that was going on for years and is really still going on in EDM today, but DeCero, in my opinion, kind of blew them all out of the park with this one. Unashamedly have this song on repeat all the time. It's my favorite from the album. I also recently had the opportunity to dig into the stems of this song, which made me only appreciate the song even more. About Us is a hidden gem if I've ever seen one. I don't know why the song has gotten so much hate, but it's just great. And lastly, for Instinct Volume 3, I've got Nothing More by Mazar and Luma. Similarly to Grant, I loved both of Mazar's releases, and in fact, I preferred originally Where Do We Go over Nothing More, but the more that I listened to Nothing More, the more I really love it. Very euphoric, powerful vocals coming from Luma, which was very refreshing because I really didn't like her first appearance on Monstercat. I already mentioned Leave with Dion Timmer. So this song was a huge redeeming moment on that front, and it's also just such like a beautiful, pretty song. Very nostalgic and emotional. The song almost brings me to tears every time I hear it. The melodies are just so pretty and feels-inducing. I really like the synth lead that's on this one. There's pretty much nothing that I don't like about this song. Sure, it's got the same like melodic bass into drum and bass formula that Where Do We Go has, but as long as Mazar doesn't completely overuse that and do it on every single song, you know, I'm okay with it. They're two different songs and they're both really good. So Mazar is definitely one of my favorite signees on Monstercat this year. I think his stuff has really been consistently good, and from what I've heard in the future, he's got, you know, a lot of talent coming to other styles and being able to go into heavier, you know, EDM genres. I think he's going to be a great fit for a long time. I guess I'll get into the 8-year anniversary compilation. I guess I'll talk about this one. Now, unlike a lot of people, I actually had a lot of fun getting into the 8-year celebration madness. I really looked forward to reading the new chapters of the comic each day and hearing the new songs, as well as taking guesses as to who would appear on the compilation based on the lineup for the VR event, theorizing and coming to conclusions. I did have a lot of fun with it. However, I really don't think this compilation turned out all that great. I feel very similarly about this compilation to how I felt about Rocket League X Monstercat Volume 1. There are a lot of great artists and, you know, a good blend of the new artists and the old classic ones that we've come to know and love over the years. But it doesn't seem like everyone was really bringing their A game with this compilation either. There are a few great highlights here and there, but this compilation wasn't going to be as good as the 5-year one, and it has less tracks to prove its worth as well. In addition to having to balance between the Uncaged and Instinct brands, since there's 4 and 4, this compilation didn't really stand a chance, but I'm not going to sit here and complain about it because it's new music, and a lot of it is really good. Like I said before, I'm going to be counting down from my 5th favorite to my 1st favorite on this compilation. So starting out, I'm going to give my 5th spot to Sanctuary by Bad Computer. Now, I might be completely alone in this, but I actually enjoy Bad Computer's progressive house style much more than his electro side. Now, I don't think Sanctuary is nearly as good as New Dawn, and I wouldn't even put it above most of his electro tunes on Monstercat, or most of his other tunes in general, I guess. It's one of my favorites on this album, but it's not one of my favorites by him, I guess I'd say. It is really nice though to see him kind of going back into that progressive sound. Taking things in a little bit of a lighter note, I definitely like the more chill side of Bad Computer. It doesn't really try to be more than a smooth, relaxing progressive house song, and there's really nothing wrong with that. I mean, like, it's very obvious that he's not trying to make the most insane tune he's ever made on this. It just seems like this was, you know, one of his songs that wouldn't have really worked all that well as a single, so I think finding it on like a short album and serving as a break between some of the madness on this compilation is fine. And yeah, I really don't have a lot of problems with the song either, other than the fact that there's just not a ton going on. Like I said, it's not really trying to do that, so who cares? For my number 4, I've got Let's Roll by Efixa and Going Quantum, one of the first Going Quantum tunes we've heard in really a long time. Not to say I'm the biggest Going Quantum fan in the world or anything like that. Honestly, I don't think his sound is all that unique, and I think his talents are better served on the Monstercat team than making his own music. But seeing him and Efixa combined for a drum and bass song was not only really surprising, but really refreshing. There's a lot of different things coming together on this track that I think weave together really nicely. Obviously, we've got some like liquid drum and bass influences. We've got a little dance floor D&B, maybe a little neurofunk, a little synth wave. We get some of those signature Efixa vocal chops, which I think work really nicely in this drum and bass context. Not to mention that this is the first collab these two have officially come together on. So as a longtime Monstercat listener, that was really cool for me to see on the compilation, even if the song isn't anything absolutely crazy, really unexpected, and it's a very nice listen. That's really all I have to say about it. For my third spot on this compilation, I've got the collaboration between Justin O and Rogue, Feel Alright. Now this collaboration came as a complete surprise to me. I figured that Justin O would be on this compilation since his name was kind of spelled out in the little VR promo thing, but I didn't expect Rogue, and I'm really happy that he did make an appearance because of course Rogue had a fantastic song on the 5-year compilation, but he's also just a really key long-time artist when it comes to Monstercat. Also gonna throw out the fact that this song really sounds more like a Rogue tune than Justin O, especially with Rogue going down the pop route more recently. The song has his vocals and it has a lot of his signature production elements in it. Really the only thing that in my mind kind of cements that this is a Justin O song is that we get those really heavy, like punchy bass lines that pair with those signature Justin O arpeggiators, similarly to the ones we saw on She's a Killer and Loving Her, Loving You. I really like this song. I think it's one of Rogue's best vocal performances in years. I'd even put the vocal performance aspect of it above Fortress, which I loved. Though at the same time, I kind of hope this song doesn't end up on Justin O's album because I feel like it's so different from kind of the vibe we've gotten before, and it's really, like I mentioned, Rogue has such a heavy hand in it that it might sound really weird in that context, but I'm obviously going to leave it up to the label and to Justin to figure that out themselves. I don't know anything about it. Overall, I feel like both of their sounds were at least decently represented in this song, and that's fine. I never really expected these two to come together at all, and it was another pleasant surprise. Oh, and that final drop with the ARPs is just crazy, like just a huge wave of euphoria. Definitely a song that I'm enjoying and listening to a lot. For my number 2, I've got the Pegboard Nerds and Tokyo Machine with Moshi. I had a feeling that these two artists were collaborating for a long time, and so I was expecting this to happen, and I really was pleasantly surprised with the result. Not to say that I didn't think they were going to put together a song that was at least decent, but the song came out very different than I would have expected given, you know, the two artists involved. Of course, there's a lot of chiptune influence in Moshi, and I did expect that considering Pegboard Nerds and Tokyo Machine are both heavily influenced in their branding by video games and chiptune. But this song really ended up being more of an electro house banger than I really anticipated, going more in the lane of the Pegboard Nerds' last EP, Full Hearts, than I really expected, though I think they pulled off that sound a lot better on this song. It's a straight banger that's pretty heavy, very festival-oriented, with a lot of glitchiness that reminds me of the more house-leaning material by Topi. Yeah, it's just a really good, fun electro house tune. I couldn't have really asked for anything more. Blends Pegboard Nerds and Tokyo Machine together in a way that I wouldn't have expected would work as well as it did. And yeah, I'm pretty much hooked on this one. And lastly, my favorite song on the 8-year anniversary compilation is Way Down by AU5, Amity and Cara. Not to say that this song is my favorite from AU5 or anything like that. In fact, even in like the recent AU5 discography, I think Only in a Dream sits way above it. But this song is definitely the best on the compilation for me. The orchestral influence sits really nice in the song's context. I like the thoughtful blend between the hardness and the melodic elements in the drops, similarly to a way that I enjoy Only in a Dream, you know, with those elements kind of being shuffled back and forth, though in a way that feels distinct from that song. I definitely wouldn't say they're comparable. This song is very pretty and very heavy at the same time, which is always something that I'm going to appreciate. When artists can kind of combine forces and work together with that dichotomy, it's always impressive. And it's always nice to see Cara too doing a vocal feature that's more of like an actual feature than just like a little one-line liner, top line kind of thing. Her appearance feels more, I guess, whole than normal. Like some of the songs that she's credited to, I really don't understand, as they don't seem to be much more than like a little clip from her sample pack. Her appearance feels very fleshed out, very thought out on this song, and I really enjoy it. Of course, AU5 is an insane producer, and Amity is a very talented up-and-comer, so it was nice to see him make his first original appearance, at least, on this album. Also, AU5 being one of the most beloved acts on Monstercat consistently. Like, pretty much every time I ask someone for their favorite artists on Monstercat, AU5 is going to be one of their top 5 that they list off. And of course, it was really nice to see him make an appearance on this album. And yeah, like I mentioned, I'm not absolutely head over heels for this song. I definitely don't think it's in the same tier as a lot of AU5's music, but it is, for me, really the best song on this compilation, the big standout. And I guess that's really all I have to say. If you guys want to, you can let me know what your favorite 5 from each album were down in the comment section below. As always, I'm going to have the streaming links, or the Spotify links, I guess I'd say, down in the description if you guys, for some reason, haven't listened to these compilations yet on your own. And then you can come back to this video after that, give me another view, and then tell me what your favorite songs were. And until next time, I'm Landon Remixes, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.